Hello, this is Valentina again. This evening we'll be talking about grief, mourning, the grieving period when you lose someone, when you lose a loved one. Um, Unfortunately, I've had such experiences within the past. In fact, I think I've lost way too many people within the past, within a span of 5 years. The last 5 years, it's just been, oh, yeah. And when you lose a loved one, sometimes it's as if the world comes to an end. But one thing I've noticed is a lot of people don't understand there's a difference for everybody. The feelings everybody encounter is different. What people go through, what you go through might be different from what I go through. A grieving period might be different. And just because someone loses someone doesn't mean the world has to come to an end. There are periods. Of course, the first thing that comes when you lose someone is shock. You're in shock, especially if it's an unexpected death, if it's a sudden death. Maybe the person wasn't sick before. In this case of my late husband, he wasn't sick, it was unexpected. So, of course, it was a shock. And I had to go through the shock. And then I went through a period of denial plus anger. And then there'll be a period where you'll start bargaining. I was bargaining like, okay, maybe just thinking, hoping the person will come back. Now, over the past couple of months, I've had a couple of people that I've lost very close people to them, loved ones. I have too. I experienced the loss of someone I consider my mom in July. And even till now, sometimes I still, wake up and hope she will still call me, or someone will call me and tell me it's a joke, even though I witnessed the burial and everything. Now, to those that have lost someone, or to those that are still going through the grieving period and they can't come to terms with what's going on, this is actually for you. Take your time. Don't let anybody. I was telling this to a friend who lost her husband a couple of months ago. I was speaking to her last week and I was telling her, don't let anybody define for you when it is time to cry, when it is time to laugh, when it is time to dance. If you feel like laughing, there will be periods when you just feel like laughing and people will think you're crazy. Just laugh it away. You're the one that's going through whatever you're going through. Nobody's going through it with you. Nobody knows what you're dealing with. Go through your period as it comes. Take one day at a time. That's what I always tell people. But no matter what you're going through, make sure you always get up and go, because life has to continue. The person is gone. They're never going to come back, unfortunately, sadly. But that's just the sad truth. They're never going to come back. You will experience a lot of emotions coming from the loss of a loved one. It is natural. And it is expected. People will judge you. Don't listen to them. A lot of judgments will come. You hear things like, oh, is she the first one that's going to lose someone? At the end of the day, if you mourn too much, they'll be like, why is she mourning too much? People will suspect you. People will accuse you. Let them. I always say something, if it's that easy, let them take theirs and, kill the person. If it's easy. Sorry, I had to mute my phone. I have a friend that has lost both parents. I think her last parent, I think her dad passed about 20 years ago, and she's still yet to come to terms with it. She lost her mom at the age of 10, and then lost her dad right about 20 years ago, I think 1996. And it's still hard for her. It's still tough for her. She has gone ahead to be a parent. She's a mother, but when it's around the anniversary of her parents dying, I am scared to even pick up my phone and call her. Until I see her post something on Facebook, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I can call. Most times I push my mom to her, like, we'll call her first. Let's see how she's doing. Because she's yet to come to terms with it. It's 20, 30 years ago. But she knows what she's going through. I don't know what she's going through because I've only lost my dad, and I lost my dad 2 years ago. And even at that, I still miss my dad. So I can imagine someone that's been without her father, which has always been the rock, her rock, for a period of 20 years. She's been through so many things that she'll feel like, if I had my mom, if my mom was here, if my dad was here, I could call them and talk to them. Grieving, it takes different people, different lengths of time to go through it. But you have to deal with it, because it's when you don't deal with it, don't try to hide it. When you try to hide it, then you never deal with it. It's always there. And that almost happened to my son, as a matter of fact, when we lost his dad, because he was not crying. It was trying to be strong for me. But on the other hand, it started acting up, and I'm like, okay, this is not him. And then I had to start talking to people like, what is going on? He's doing this, he's doing that. And a friend had to tell me that, you know what? Has he ever spoken to you after his dead person? I'm like, yeah, we talk, but we only talk about things on the surface. They're like, no, there's more going on. In the U.S. and in developed countries, I'm sorry for saying developed countries, but we all know they regard Nigeria as a third world country. But in more developed country like the UK and like Europe and the United States, Canada, people will ask you to enroll in counseling. I never went through counseling because I deal with my emotions. I'm a kind of person that if I feel like crying, I'm going to cry. If I feel like laughing, I'm going to laugh. If I feel like dressing up, I'm going to dress up, because I really don't care about what people say. But it's not everybody that has that strong attitude like I do. It's not everybody that can face the world like I do. Hi, BK. Yes, it does take different people, different timeline to heal. Absolutely. Healing process is different for everybody. It's totally different. I'm going to read some stages because I had to make some notes before I came on about 5 stages of grief. I think I mentioned some. I think there are actually more than 5 stages, because thinking about it, I spoke about shock, because I'm thinking about, what I went through and what I go through whenever I hear sudden death, or especially someone that maybe I knew was sick and I was expecting to get better, or I was praying the person would get better, and then I get that phone call or I find out the person is gone. Of course, the first thing that comes to me is like shock. Like, really? Did this really happen? Can it really happen? You're shocked. Like, this cannot be happening. It definitely cannot. You go from shock to anger. Like, why is it happening? What happened? Why did God allow this to happen? And that's where people will go, don't question God. And I always say, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I've had to question God sometimes. I've really had to question him, because if I don't question God, who am I going to question? You? Definitely I'm going to question God. Like, why are you allowing this to happen to me? In my case, I lost my husband in July. I lost my dad March the following year. 8 months. It wasn't easy. Even though my dad was old, he was aged, he was ill, we were not expecting him to die, but no matter how sick or how old your parents are, you don't want them to go. Even when even if they're on life support. So my father was not on life support, so I'm just saying. Even if they're on life support, you still don't want them to go. You still have that faith, that hope that, okay, it will not happen. A miracle will happen. You're still praying for a miracle. And so you go from anger to bargaining, like, okay, make this not happen. Or if the person can come alive, I will do this to you. Bargaining with God, like, just wake this person up for me. And some people go into depression. I think I actually went into depression when I lost my husband. I actually did. It took my son for me to get back into the world. And also another thing that actually helps the healing process is having a very good support system. I am very fortunate. I have an awesome support system. I always say I don't have in-laws. Maybe if I had in-laws, maybe it would be different for me, but I don't have in-laws. I have a family. My husband's family, they are my family before they were his family. I always come first, and I still come first no matter what, even after it's gone. So having that support system makes a whole lot of difference. I remember because in Nigeria, we have this culture when you lose someone, especially when you lose a spouse, or for those that lose a child, you wear dark clothes. So I was in the midst of my dark clothes system, and I remember my husband's mom calling me I call her my mom number two, and was like, you need to take off the black. As a matter of fact, on the day they buried him, we wore white, and we're like, no, we need to start wearing white, no black clothes, even though it was young. But it was difficult for me. It was a decision I made for myself, and I said, no, I'm going to honor him. I'll wear the black for 3 months. But one day, my son looked at me, and with tears in his eyes, he asked me, Mama, when are you going to keep on looking like this? For how long are you going to look like this? And I looked in the mirror, and I saw myself. And I'm like, really? Is this me? You know what, Valentina? No amount of black, no amount of crying is going to bring him back. It's gone. And that was my wake-up call. Some people, there's nothing you can tell them that will bring them out of that. So that was what brought me out of my depression stage. Apart from the fact that I had, sometimes I found myself initially during the shock period before he was buried. I remember a day where my mom had to call me back and like, he's not here. Who are you talking to? And it was later she was telling me that, I was just talking to space, having a conversation with space. So people deal with things differently. When I lost my father, I think what actually hurt more was the fact that he had promised my son a week before that I was going to stay. And he always fulfilled his promise. So that was really shocking when I found out that he was gone. I remember getting that phone call. I was on my way to London. It passed in the UK. I was on my way to the airport when my niece called me and told me Granddad had slept. And my son was right next to me, and I couldn't talk. I was in shock. And of course, I'm like, he promised us he was going to stay. So I guess it was more the shock. And for about a week, nothing made sense to me. For about a week after he passed, nothing made sense to me. Like I said, I've lost a lot of loved people. I'm a very passionate person. So when I'm close to someone, I'm really close to the person. And when I'm not close to you, But anyway, recently I lost someone I consider my mom. And I spoke to her the night before, and I told her I was coming home to Nigeria. And she was like, yeah. I said, I'll come and see you. Just hold on for us. We'll be there. And she was like, okay, prayed for me. My mom was listening to the prayers. My mom heard her last prayers. I didn't. I heard her normal prayers for me. And the next morning, she was gone. She slept and never came back. Sometimes I still sit there. I remember about 2 days ago, I was talking to my mom, and I'm like, okay, I really wish she was alive right now. I really need to talk to her. And my mom was like, yeah, she's not. Just pray for her. And, it goes by. I know I'll get there. We will get there. But with her, we're still going through. I don't even know what stage I am with that. I don't think I'm in the depression state. I haven't accepted it yet, even though I saw it, because that's another stage. You still have to get to the acceptance stage. When you get to the acceptance stage, at that point, you're at peace with what happened. Like, okay, you know what? It has happened. I am at peace. My friend that I was talking about, she's actually online right now. I don't think she has gotten to that stage yet, that it has happened. She's not at peace. Because every time I always tell her, and I'm telling you again, I will not mention your name, but I'm telling you again, you need to let Daddy and Mommy go. It's been 30 years. You need to let them go. You need to move on. I know it's tough. I know it's easy for me to say to you because I didn't experience it. I don't experience what you experience every day, hoping they're there for you to talk to them. I still have my mom. As much as my mom is your mom, it's still different. I totally understand that. But at the same time, you need to let them go. Release them. Because when you hold on to them, there's this saying that they're just hanging around. I don't know if it's true. I've never been dead. I've never been there. And I've never seen or met anybody that's been there and came back. But basically, they say it a lot, that if you're always holding on to someone that's dead, you're crying, about, crying all the time, talking about them, hoping they'll come back. They're hanging around. Then the between heaven and earth, midstream, or hell and earth, whichever way. I don't know if there's really heaven or earth, but that's heaven or hell, but that's what we believe. So basically, I'm telling you again, you know who you are, and I know you're watching. Please let them go. I have an auntie that lost her son recently, and sometimes I just don't know what to say to her, because I cannot imagine what she goes through. The losing a child. I don't want to think about it. May God not let it happen to anybody. And those that it has happened to, may God console you. That's what I have to say. But basically, shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Once you get to the acceptance stage, once you accept this person has gone, then you start living. You start living. You start holding on to the good memories, which is actually the best way to heal. That's what I do. I listen to the good memories, and I always believe that if the loved ones that are gone always hang around and stay with us. I believe that. I really believe it, because some things happen. Sometimes I'm just in a state where I'm lost. I don't know what's going on. And then something will happen and I'll be like, God, I know that was you. But I just have a feeling. I sense it all the time. My son and I, sometimes when he does something, like, he'll be like, that was my dad. They're like, okay. It's either your dad or your granddad. But thank God, at least, they're around. As Catholics, we believe they are guardian angels. And I'm going to read some of the things that I jotted here. Okay. One of the things that'll help is your personality, your support system, and your natural coping mechanism. And many other things will determine how the loss affects you. It really will determine how it affects you. There are no rules. There are no timetables. And no linear progressions. So like I said earlier, don't let anybody decide for you when you should stop mourning, or when you should stop, or when you cry, or when you dress up and go, or when you do whatever. The decision is yours, because you are the one in it. You're the one that knows where the shoe pinches. Some people feel better after a few weeks or months, and for others it may take years. And in the midst of the recovery, there may be setbacks. Yeah, there are a lot of setbacks. It happens a lot. And then when you have those setbacks, at least I've had this feeling that when I have setbacks, and I'll be like, you know what? If this person was alive, this probably wouldn't have happened. I remember something happened last year, and my son looked at me like, if Granddad was alive, Mama, we could have called him. And I'm like, yeah, but he's not alive anymore, So when you have setbacks, then you go back and remember the person. Like, okay, if this person was alive, this will not happen. So, but when you have setbacks, just use the strength that God has given you to move on. Treat yourself with kindness and compassion, and without any judgment. And honestly, I always say something. If I am not judging myself, nobody has the right to judge me. So basically, if you're not judging yourself, nobody has the right to judge you. Don't let anybody judge you. Don't give anybody that power. You have the right to grieve, and no one, including yourself, can tell you when it's time to end that process. No one. You cannot even tell yourself it's time to end the process. It will just come naturally, and you just have that inner peace, and you would know that, okay, you know what? Yes, I am at peace. So basically, that's what this video is about. I will be uploading this video onto YouTube. I'll not be putting it on Facebook. I'll be uploading on YouTube. But thank you for watching. My YouTube channel is Valentina Ibirogba-Unaji. Basically, just my name. If you can search me, or you can go on my Facebook page, Birog's page, and my personal page, and you see the link there. I will be posting the link onto Facebook later on. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it on the YouTube link, and we can discuss it. Inbox me if you want to keep it private. And I will be back another time. Thank you, and have a blessed week ahead of you.